Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on part 15 of our dive into Heaven Official's Blessing. And yeah, so we actually did end on a cliffhanger last week. It was amazing. We ended with Qi Rong getting boiled by Lan Chanshu, and then Lan Chanshu storming off mad. Xie Lian feels really terrible because the secret's out about all the stuff that happened with the bloody gilded banquet, and Hua Cheng was trying to make him feel better. And so, man, I don't know where we're headed now. I feel like the date between Hua Cheng and Xie Lian led to Qi Rong. I thought that, we're halfway through the novel. I thought Qi Rong would be like way down here. We got him super early and he's already gone. I mean, not gone for good. We don't know about his ashes, so he's going to come back. It's just what that is going to be like, and so we'll have to find out. But yeah, so I debated on what to do. I have down on my sheet of paper when I was first laying out these chapters, I had originally just thought to do chapters 54 and 55 together and then 56 and 57 separate. But someone on Discord was like, well, if they're only one part's 12 pages, one part's 13 pages, so it's not that long. I was like, I know what you're trying to do. You want me to read them together. But I'm like, that's a lot. That's 4 chapters. But honestly, that's 4 chapters. We did 3 chapters last week, so 4 chapters isn't that bad. It's gonna get to the point where I'm like, 10 chapters is about, no, there's no way I could read 10 chapters of this story. It takes me like 2 hours to get through 3. So I did decide that I am going to do chapters 54 through 57 for this week. I feel bad because we're getting far away from the Manhua, but it is going to be fun to catch up each week and see what the Manhua, to see the Manhua do the chapters we've already read. It'll be a fun little, it'll be a nice little review to go back and reread them. That'll be fun. Maybe something will stand out that will tie to what we're reading for this week. That'll be kind of cool. But we don't have, sadly, a Manhua chapter for this week. But on Halloween, which was earlier this week as I'm recording this, we did have an update about season 2 of the Donghua. I've not looked at the video. I've been shared the video on YouTube, on the Discord, on Twitter, everywhere. So it's like the 2nd anniversary because it's apparently been 2 years since the Donghua started. It's like a 2.5 minute video. I'm gonna watch it at the end of this. So at the end of the video, I'll try to make a little note on YouTube where you can see in the video where I get to that reaction if you want to jump ahead to it. But at the very end of this discussion, I've got it pulled up on YouTube. I am going to watch that video and see what all it's about because everybody's been like, well, maybe you should watch it. So yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, so we're gonna read chapters 54 through 57 this evening and talk about Heaven Official's Blessing. At this point, again, no clue where we're going. What's going to happen? I'm in the dark. I love it. But I do have a few tiny comments before we start. Only a few. There weren't a lot of comments. Everybody's been secretly hush-hush on Discord. It's usually a sign when everybody's like, I don't know what'll happen. It's I see what's going to happen. I'm excited. Cameron, though. I like that Cameron's comment on Patreon was like, you know what? Hua Cheng, he sticks with Xie Lian despite him having the worst family. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of know that you've found someone that you can be in a long-term relationship with when they can deal with the craziest of your family. Because everyone has crazy in their family. And if you don't think you have crazy in your family, you are the crazy. So yeah, everyone has crazy in their family. It's just a fact of life. And Hua Cheng he's a good man for sticking it out. Even though he hates Qi Rong, he'll stick it out because he's Xie Lian's cousin. I love it. But then I had SQQLBH314 talked about how I liked this comparison that Qi Rong holds a grudge. Like, Qi Rong holds a grudge beyond the grave. Like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later, Qi Rong is still holding grudges. Xie Lian is the polar opposite. Xie Lian holds no grudges. Xie Lian just lets it go and is like, well, yep, you did you. I guess we'll just forgive you and move on, right? Like, polar opposites could not be more different. And I really like that contrast between them. But also made a good note, SQQ made a good note that Xie Lian punched the snot out of Qi Rong, who is a savage ghost, while being curse shackled. And I know y'all are biting at the bit. I get it. Xie Lian's really freaking strong. He just is like a monk and holds it all back. I get it. I it's become very apparent that that is the case. And that has me excited to see Xie Lian's past as we go through these volumes to see what's got him to this point. It makes sense why Xie Lian is so strong, because he was so worshipped by his family. I mean, he had 8,000 temples dedicated to him. Makes sense why he would have that much strength. And it's been even depleted. It's still there. So, and he's shackled. So that also makes me wonder too, if Hua Cheng, in trying to make him go back to his former glory, is maybe trying to get followers to Xie Lian that he doesn't know about, and so his strength is still there, and maybe there's something tied to that. I guess we'll find out. We'll see. And then finally, good friend, your handle's the longest YouTube handle I've ever seen in my life. Their handle is, and I quote, Warum Brauchi Chinen Kin Kal Al Lazum Komanat Tirin. Took up the whole line of the notebook paper. But I did like their comment talking about how the dice, explaining that the dice, whenever the dice rolled on a 4, it would take that person to their nightmare. And I was like, oh, gotcha. Okay. It would take them to their nightmare when it rolled on a 4. If it was just landed on another number, it wouldn't do that. It would just take them to a different place. So I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So that was cool. But yeah, those were comments. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into this set of chapters and see what all we get and take notes and just go through it. So we are going to start Heaven Official's Blessing, chapters 54 through 57. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Chapter 54, in the cannibal lair, the Ghost King faces heavenly officials. Oh, okay. Now, Xie Lian, why are you saying that you're a failure? No, don't look at that statue. You said the statue didn't bother you. Stop it. Oh, yeah, useless trash. Yes. Other than being good at not dying and running away. He's got nothing else going for him. Oh, Hua Cheng. Oh, he can't even level up to a supreme. Even beating him up would only dirty your hands. Wasn't he also the same? Only good at not dying and not running away. And after 800 years had only gotten as far as himself, which was nowhere. Oh, stop. No! Xie Lian, stop it. Stop saying that. That's not cool. Like him, like smiling like woefully. No. At first, when he saw Chanchu as the martial god of the East, still maintaining his old character, still straightforward, still falling asleep in boring meetings, he felt comforted. And yet from now on, who knows how he would change? How would things end with Xie Lian after he had went in pursuit of Qi Rong? That's just... We're going to talk about this stupid statue and him cutting it in half. But he decides to go with Hua Cheng to go try to find the other humans. Okay. And all the green ghosts have run away. All right. They nabbed a couple unfortunate little ghosts and forced them to lead. Oh, that's funny. Just like making them be the lanterns. For storing fresh food. Ugh. The number of people Qi Rong had captured for consumption was actually no less than there were 300. They were either nearby villagers or travelers passing by. The 2 unlocked jail cells as they roamed, freeing all. The 2 unlocked jail cells. Okay. And then Xie Lian was able to change focus and calm down. Now that he was free, he had time to chat with Hua Cheng. Oh. How did you know that Qi Rong was the mastermind behind the Gilded Banquet? Oh, okay. His objective was to have Chanchu hear for himself the confession. Qi Rong didn't know I was Feng Xin. If he had known, he would have harassed me from the start. Although I knew the old Shanle royals were plotting something underhanded, I didn't know it was Qi Rong behind it all. How did you find out? How long have you known about this? Oh, not too long. Oh, not too long. No. With his hands behind his back. I've run into Qi Rong a few times and learned the kind of person he is. He was of Shanle when he was alive and regarded Yongin with deep hatred. He was good at the art of provocation and fanning fires and fabricating situations. Many of the major assassination plots of Yongin nobles were all manipulated him behind the back, but he hid it really well. So he had a history. Oh, if the heavens found out he had a hand in those mortal conflicts, they would show him no mercy. Spilling blood was very much his style, so I believed he was a mastermind behind it, and the Goshi Feng Xin was his lackey. But in the upper court, since Chanshu identified you as the Goshi Feng Shen, there was no way Feng Shen and Qi Rong would be in the same boat. Oh, it seemed that even though he wasn't present in the heavens, he was very informed of what went on in the Great Martial Hall. He was also knowledgeable of his personal relationship with Qi Rong. Oh, I still lean towards Qi Rong as the mastermind, or at least the one who started it all. The remnants, citizens of Shanla, after Chanshu's father had ascended the throne, had received many improvements to their lives and no longer thought of avenging the fallen kingdom. The only ones who couldn't let it go was the royal family of Shanla. Ah, and the only remaining descendant was Anla. Okay. He was more than likely killed, and the reason for his death had something to do with the Gilded Banquet. So he's just like explaining his Sherlock deduction through all of this? Of course, of course. So few clues, and yet you could deduce it so accurately. It's not hard. You just have to know the main people involved well. Oh, why do you believe so firmly that the one who made the first move must be Qi Rong? It wasn't that I believed he did. I just believed that you didn't. Why is that? If you had admitted to spilling blood at the Gilded Banquet using any other reason, then I would have believed it was you. The Yong'an king was sincere in his rule, loved by the people, and yet Chanshu said the reason you told him was, I couldn't stand seeing you in that position. That was a model declaration of one overthrowing the crown, but if those words came from you, it would be a poor attempt at tarnishing your own name. Tarnishing my own name? Did you not think that I might have not harbored those thoughts deep down inside? Maybe I do have some resentments hidden. Thoughts are thoughts. You wouldn't have acted upon them. Sun Long, I'm not the person you think I am. You... What? Tell me, it won't matter. I just think it's best for people not to have too much hope in another. Oh, why? No, why would he say that? Oh, what do you mean by that? Don't think someone overly perfect. If it's just watching a shadow from afar and never having to interact, then whatever. But once acquainted and grown close, one day, you'll end up finding that this person was not what you imagined. And maybe even the complete opposite. When that happens, you'll be very disappointed. You never know. I don't care if anyone else is disappointed. But to some, the very existence of a certain person in this world is in itself hope. Oh my God! Oh! Okay. Okay, yeah. Just spell it out. Although he didn't specify who some were and who a certain person was, his tone plain and casual like it was an offhand comment. His heart lifted. He felt light even. He doesn't realize he's talking about him! Xie Lian, you dunce! Who are you really? Oh. You knew who Qi Rong was and knew the kind of person he is. You knew who I am and you knew how to paint the God-pleasing crown prince. You seem to know everything about me. You know a lot, maybe even more. Don't I always know a lot? It's not the same. Oh. He looked at Hua Cheng in wonder. I've always had a feeling that you're someone from my past and must have known me from very early on. Maybe it was during my first ascension. No, maybe even earlier. Yet I really don't remember. When have I ever met a character like you? He'd be unforgettable in the first meeting. He said, who are you exactly? Have I met you before? His lips lifted softly. He realized his questions were extremely inappropriate. They're not inappropriate, you monk. A ghost's real name was usually secret. Unless it's someone unfathomably abnormal like Qi Rong, there's no reason to tell it to anyone. I'm sorry, don't mind me. I was just asking. But his eyes squinted. Oh. Behind them came a noisy clatter and the sound of clear, loud voice of a woman. Oh, damn it! No, we were about to find out things! WINDMASTER, go home! Get back! Damn it! We were about to find out shit and you just show up? No. I told you my strong powers are stronger in female form and my luck is even better. Yet you wouldn't let me. Do you see now? We rolled it right this time. WINDMASTER. Yeah, I found him. His Highness is here. However, she then saw Hua Cheng standing behind Xie Lian and her face fell immediately. She leapt backwards and flashed the fan before her. Oh no. And the voice of another man. Did you find him? How are things? The voice was coming closer, and soon the shadow of another appeared. It was Feng Shen. Of course Feng Shen would go looking for him. He had in his hand a long black bow. Oh, and he pulled back the silver bowstring. Oh, of course Hua Cheng would chuckle, being like, the F you gonna do to me? Put away your weapons. We can talk this out. Oh. 2 against 2. Feng Shen had the bowstring pulled fully. A string of spiritual light formed into the shape of an arrow within his right hand, and he aimed at Hua Cheng. Your Highness, come here. Oh, he ain't moving. His bow was gifted by Jun Wu, named Feng Shen. It was a rather troublesome spiritual device. Xie Lian was afraid he'd shoot for real and rushed to stand in front of Hua Cheng, shielding him, but unexpectedly, Hua Cheng grabbed him from behind and pulled him right back. The pull startled the other two. Oh, Qingshan immediately raised his hand. Hua Cheng, Crimson Rain Flower, don't do anything rash. The burning of your paradise manor was an accident. If you're displeased, we can talk. The heavens can pay you back. His Majesty the Martial Emperor isn't that short on cash. Let go of His Highness and let's talk. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, Feng Shen translates to God of Wind, and it being a bow. That's really cool. Okay. Oh my gosh. We were so close to finding something out. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Chapter 55. In the cannibal lair, the ghost faces heavenly officials too. Oh, Lord Master, you're mistaken. It actually, he wanted to explain that Hua Cheng didn't come looking for payback. Oh yeah, to explain that this is all a big misunderstanding. I haven't even counted the whole incident with Jun Wu setting up a spy under my nose, so there's nothing to talk about. Xie Lian finally understood. The Windmaster could see that Hua Cheng had no bad intentions. This was all but an act. Using Hua Cheng's kidnapping him as seeking revenge so the heavens wouldn't talk and say that it was Xie Lian who had ran away. Hua Cheng had understood the Windmaster's intent too and cooperated. But Xie Lian didn't want to go this route. Well, stop acting. He only came to the heavens to save me. He had good intentions, so why hide it? No more acting. I already sent these 2 exchanges to the communication array. You don't understand. No matter how good the intention, after being passed around, word will always become negative. So they might as well be negative from the start. You get it, Hua Cheng commented. Of course, otherwise how could I, the Lord Windmaster, be so popular in the heavens? General Nanyang, lower your bow. But he still had the bow at almost full strength. Put it down! Can't you see they're close? Nothing bad's gonna happen! Oh my god! Yes! Oh, Your Highness, the one next to you is a supreme. Seeing that his hostility wouldn't drop his bow and lowered, the Windmaster suddenly rammed herself into his arm! What? Windmaster's like, I'm gonna be the best wingman there is! Yeah, oh my god. His face paled worse than if he were to see a ghost by a millionfold. Oh, because he doesn't like women! She rammed herself into his arm! Oh my god! He screamed! And the shaft of the spiritual arrow dissipating powerlessly like clouds. He opened his mouth and a long string of loud curses came distressed to the core. Windmaster is best girl, best boy, best official. I love the Windmaster. Oh my god, yes. What are you doing? What the F are you doing? The Windmaster had used her bosoms to ram into his arm. Yes, the one holding the arrow. It had thoroughly terrified him. Oh, it swung her whisk back, elegantly carefree, looking as if she'd just done anything, as if she hadn't done anything inappropriate. I haven't even asked you what you are doing. I just said the Crimson Rain Flower came to save His Highness, and you still point at him with your arrow. If you want to fight him so badly, well, I won't help you. Oh my gosh. Looked like he would never approach her again. How dare you do that ever again, ever? Do you hear me? Oh my god. What is his... I know that there's androphobia is a fear of men. Is there a fear of women? Is there a phobia for that? I might have to look that up before the discussion. Oh my god. Oh, and I love the Windmaster's like, can't we still be friends? I'm sorry that I rammed into you with my arm. I won't do it again. It's not like you suffered any loss. What's with that reaction? Where's Chanchu? Oh, he aha'd. He's not in the communication array. No. After he rolled the dice and left, we haven't heard a single peep. I've asked him multiple times what the correct role was, but he never responded. Before, when I talked to Chanchu, he'd always respond really fast, not just to me, but all other officials, regardless of ranking. It's so weird. His Highness has left to chase after Qi Rong. Qi Rong? Yeah, this is Qi Rong's lair. Wait, why did His Highness go pursue Qi Rong? Didn't he come chasing after you? No reason. He was chasing the real mastermind behind the gilded banquet bloodshed. And the only thing His Royal Highness did was wipe up after that murderer's ass. Chanshu found out the truth and went chasing after the real culprit. That's all. The real culprit? Is this the truth? Of course, Xie Lian's like, this is going to have to be a long story for later. Oh, and the Windmaster, of course, although ignorant of the inside story, was joyous. I knew there was a misunderstanding. I've got such godly premonition. Oh my god. Now, even if you return, you will no longer be detained. Good, Feng Xin said. Oh. He put away his bow and the wariness had decreased. But Hua Cheng snorted coldly. Ooh. Have you known that Qi Rong was that Qi Rong? Which Qi Rong? Who? The one we knew? So you didn't realize it was him either? No. I've never run into the green ghost himself and was always assumed the name was a coincidence. What kind of dumbass would run around with his real name? That's crazy! Ah! But then you remember Qi Rong is crazy. And they both got it. Yep, of course, of course. Oh, okay. Feng Xin had despised Qi Rong. Qi Rong was the son of the younger sister to Xie Lian's mother. So they are like first cousins. The last queen of Shanle. He spent his days cleaning into Xie Lian. And as Xie Lian's personal guard, Feng Xin saw Qi Rong frequently. Okay, that makes sense. He was young, immature, bullheaded, energetic, extreme, and the worst thing was, as royalty, no one disciplined him. Oh, this is all with the banquet and the hall and the cave. It's all making much more sense. Okay, yep. He used to hang around on his lips the words, "My cousin, the crown prince, is perfect." And this is going to go back to what Xie Lian just told Hua Cheng about don't think people are perfect. And if anyone were to remotely disrespect him, it wouldn't matter who it was. He would bag the person with a gunny sack and beat them to death. Oh, he didn't have any respect for the old, the handicapped, or the young. There was even once Xie Lian saved a child, not even over 10 years of age, from Qi Rong's hands. The poor boy was beaten to a bloody pulp, miserable to the bone. Yet Xie Lian was mindful of Qi Rong's lineage, plus he was genuinely on Xie Lian's side. So Xie Lian had never disciplined him physically. It was only lectures. Qi Rong wouldn't change no matter how many times he was scolded. He was truly a headache. Okay. And then, of course, Feng Xin was not as patient as Xie Lian and disputed with him. And so Qi Rong despised him as well. Okay. And then after Xie Lian ascended, he became even more preposterous. If anyone were to spit before the palace of the crown prince, he would try to force burning hot coal down their throat. To prevent them from going too far, Feng Xin had to descend frequently to clean up after him, truly aggravating. He'd always tell Xie Lian he's crazy and he's going to ignite chaos one day. If it was really him, it'd be no surprise that he'd done it. What, do you all know the Green Ghost? He's my little cousin. Well, ain't that something else? Oh my god! That's the best! He is quite something else. Oh my god, WINDMASTER is like stealing the show, these chapters. What even is this? WINDMASTER, I've missed you. Oh my god, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. Your Highness, look at you. The martial gods of the southeast and southwest are both your old buddies. The martial god of the east is your disciple. The knight touring Green Lantern is your little cousin. And the crimson rain sought flower is your sworn brother. And I, Lord WINDMASTER, am your friend. Ain't that something? Thinking the WINDMASTER had certainly had a breezy character befitting of the title. The moment the wind blew, all gloomy clouds dispersed. But when Hua Cheng and Feng Xin heard the crimson rain sought flower is your sworn brother, they both showed a disagreeing expression. Hua Cheng raised his brows, and Feng Xin knitted his. After a moment, Feng Xin turned to Xie Lian. If there's nothing else, you better hurry back to the Heavenly Court. Many of the Heavenly officials still have no idea what happened in that ruckus and are waiting above. Jun Wu should be informed by now. You need to report back and give them a proper account. And Hua Cheng laughed. And here I was wondering how straightforward you are. But it turns out you like to beat around the bush too. You just don't want His Highness to associate the likes of demons and ghosts like me. So why not say it so openly? Think it's not your place? San Long, oh no! As long as you're aware, you shouldn't be associating with the likes of demons and ghosts. Oh! I'll report and give a proper account, but right now there are more important things at hand. Qi Rong had hidden in his lair over 300 humans for feeding. Thanks to San Long's help, they were all saved. There's currently a number of little ghosts left that need to be taken care of. I'll return to the heavens as soon as that's done. It won't be good to take too long. Let me deal with this. By heaven's efficiency, you'll probably finish this by next month. Ha! You say that as if you can handle this in a second. Oh. The two glared at each other. She asked Xie Lian with his eyes, did something happen between the two of them? And Xie Lian only shook his head. He was about to change the subject when Hua Cheng took out an umbrella from who knows where! And the umbrella was crimson red like maple leaves, vivid like fire. He raised it with one hand and covered himself, and Xie Lian, reflecting a blushing red on their faces. This must be the same umbrella Hua Cheng used to shield them through the hanging corpse forest at Mount Yujin. However, it wasn't raining at the moment, so Xie Lian was curious. San Long, why'd you open the umbrella? Just wait. The sky's about to change. Just as he finished the sentence, it poured from the sky. The rain thundered down, flecking and flacking. It came so suddenly that Xie Lian was startled. However, he was properly covered under Hua Cheng's umbrella, and not a single drop hit him. Fang Xin, though, who was standing on the other side, had not prepared at all. He was drenched by the rain. Oh, and the worst thing was, this rain was the color of blood. Fang Xin was covered in blood from dripping. Only his wide, bulging eyes were white, the rest of him red. Qingshan was conveniently standing in the interior of another cave and wasn't affected! But his eyes were also wide with shock, forgetting to wave his whisk. The pouring came suddenly, left suddenly, and soon enough everything was quiet once more. It took Fang Xin some time to recover. He wiped his face, but was still smeared with red, his attempt useless. What? How's that for show? In 4 short words, he'd already taken a number of leisurely steps and was quite the distance away. Xie Lian was fumbling all over his sleeves looking for some rags, but instead, Qingshan plucked some white strands from his whisk and handed them to the deeply muted Fang Xin. The moment Hua Cheng left, Xie Lian immediately sensed the void between them and turned around in a rush, running a few steps after Hua Cheng. So how long are you going back to the ghost city? Aren't you going back to the heavenly court? But if you want to follow me to the ghost city, you're welcome to. Next time if there's a chance, I'll definitely visit the ghost city again. I'll help you lay bricks and rebuild your paradise manor. No need to lay bricks. You can just sit back and watch. Oh my god! Hua Cheng! The thing with Chanshu, no matter how it went down, I should still thank you. I don't know what the right thing is to do either, so maybe this wasn't a bad thing. You think too much. Just keep doing what you want to do. And the crimson silhouette gradually from within the mountains and under the moonlight disappeared completely from Xie Lian's sight. Just had to have the last bit of laugh with Fang Xin. Just had to do it. I wonder if that rain has any kind of power. Oh my gosh. I'm sad that he's gone already. I hate it. I was like, I wanted to stick around. I'm also glad that I'm reading chapters 57 and 56 because I was like, if we had stopped there, no. But I am sad he's gone. That's so sad. Without knowing why, Xie Lian was suddenly filled with courage again. Oh, getting inspired by Hua Cheng. Chapter 56, In Search of the Past, retracing steps to Mount Taisang. After Chanshu had left, his steps had been hesitant, his shoulders slumped, but this courage came from nowhere, and who knew where it had been directed to? All that was known was that it had made him stand tall once more. He stood unmoving, and the Windmaster approached, giving him a small pat on the back. What a guy, Your Highness. I don't know how you managed to befriend him, but you're very lucky. This was the first time Xie Lian had heard someone tell him he was lucky. Maybe, I think so too. Windmaster's just so approving. He's like, look at you. Just met a supreme ghost. I'm rooting for you. Oh my god. Behind them, Fang Xin continued to wipe his face. When they turned his head around, they saw his face was covered in white strands. Miserable, unkempt, and laughed because he tried to use the whisk. Sorry about that. That counted as an apology on Hua Cheng's behalf. I'm not as skilled, so I can't say anything. The three of them conducted a final search of the caves and double-checked to make sure that there were no humans or anything else left behind before writing a draft of Wind back to the Heavenly Court. Man, what a trip! Oh my god, I can't wait to see this animated. It's going to be wonderful. Okay, crowd of junior officials from the middle court moving about, checking in the nook and cranny as if they were about to face a grave enemy. Like Hua Cheng's going to come fight them, right? No. Oh, it was already filled with the upper court. Okay. Hua Cheng dare accuses the upper court heavens of sending a spy. How ludicrous. Why would the heavens need to send a spy? But that's what they did, wasn't it? Oh, sending a spy was most likely the truth. They started blathering. If the incident was indeed true, then wouldn't it be a slap in their own faces? Okay, I love the Windmaster, like, takes the lead and is like, bitches, I got this. And it's back to him being a he. Okay. The Lord Windmaster has returned. Thank you for your hard work. But all eyes were on Xie Lian. Oh, they were about to press for more, but saw function. It looked like he crawled out of a bloody pond. Oh my god. After all, no one wanted to be cussed out loudly in the Great Hall. Only Mu Qing, who obviously didn't care to avoid him, even purposefully stared, held his gaze, his intent more than obvious. Oh, he's just waiting to say something, right? And Jun Wu was seated above in his throne, a hand supporting his head, fingers pressed against his temple, looking exhausted. Xie Lian could understand exactly how he felt. Okay. With all the instances. So normally there's like no meetings in the Heavenly Realm. They only meet if there's an emergency or like a monthly board meeting. But they've had like 6 emergency meetings in the last week, right? Oh my god. As if there's a situation happening every day and they had to convene twice a day. If Xie Lian was in his shoes, he'd be tired too. There are many that wanted to have their voices heard despite being nothing but noise. Oh, that's clever. I like that line. MXTX, that's a good one. He came and went as he willed. Scary to think he was able to connect to the palace of Shanle to anywhere else. Now that he can easily kidnap His Highness who offended him, who knows if he'll just kidnap any other heavenly officials. We can't let this go. We need to stop him right now. If this were the mortal realm, it'd be akin to a rebel digging a tunnel beneath the royal palace and sneaking about freely. Of course people were restless. Okay. What's Mu Qing doing here? Hua Cheng has so many devotees and lords over the ghost city. Something minuscule like burning the Paradise Manor is nothing to him. He might not have broken into the heavens just because His Highness offended him. General Shanjin, you're mistaken. Everyone heard Hua Cheng admitted himself. Speaking of which general is responsible for security this month? The palace of Shanle had a spell cast upon it to be connected elsewhere without that general even noticing. Isn't that a neglect of duty? Oh! Pei Ming, who'd been standing quietly crossed his arms when he heard the Windmaster, he spoke up. Me. Oh no! The Windmaster had remembered wrong and thought it was Mu Qing. The Windmaster was trying to throw it in Mu Qing's face, but called out Pei Ming instead, and now things were awkward. Oh my god, no! Oh, I'm on duty this month. This was my oversight. Oh my god. Tried to help him out. If you were to ask me, we should look into the matters one at a time. Let's clear up the issue about the bloodshed at the Gilded Banquet. But Ling Wen, we've news of His Highness Tai Hua. What did he say? He said the Gilded Banquet massacre had an inside story. He will solve the conflict with His Highness himself, that there's no need for anyone else to interfere. Also, that His Highness's request for banishment must not go through. Those are the 2 things. What inside story? He didn't say any more, that's all. Oh, okay. To think they would see a battle erupt and a hammer coming down heavenly, only to land lightly like a feather. They couldn't help but feel rather disappointed. And you know, what was the fun in that to watch? Xie Lian didn't look like he was going to say anything either, so there's nothing more to chew on the matter. Okay, so Mu Qing and Feng Xin aided Pei Ming in strengthening security. Get the cybersecurity up! And settled a few other ads before waving his hand and dismissing. Oh, I knew it. Whenever he stirs up anything, Jun Wu would say he'd interrogate him, but in the end, nothing would come of it. We've been blind. He's actually someone significant. Gotta watch what we say from now on. Oh. I've caused my lord problems. This doesn't count as problems. The real problem was you stubbornly proclaiming yourself the only one responsible for the Gilded Banquet massacre. Okay, so he did tell him the whole story. Okay. Shanla, in this matter, you worked really hard for nothing and pleased no one. I know. Never mind, you're always like this. Taihua has now changed his focus to pursue the Green Ghost. Once he's done so, he will certainly come back for you. Have you thought out how you'll face him? Not yet. But let's think about something else that's more immediate. Like what? Is there anything interesting that can amuse me? Was it you who sent the Earthmaster to the Ghost City as a spy? Yes. Why? Because it was Hua Cheng who planted a spy in the heavens first. Oh. These past years, news reached Hua Cheng's ears too fast. Some things he shouldn't have known he knew too well. As for what could be done and what can't be done, where the bottom line is how to cross said line, he is overly perceptive and precise. That he could connect directly to your palace of Shanla only proves indeed he has a spy here in the heavens. Otherwise, it couldn't have been done. To be honest, Xie Lian had noticed this too. He knew way too much. And so to have Jun Wu say it out loud, it wasn't hard to believe. Does my lord have any evidence? It's because there was no proof, but things were regardless suspicious. So I sent Ming Yi to the ghost realm. Who knew that Ming Yi would fall into his hands before the spy was even found? Although you saved him from Hua Cheng's grasp, now it will become even more difficult to find that spy. Is it the upper or middle court that's the problem? It's hard to say. Besides you, it could be anyone. Perhaps there was only one mole, perhaps more. No wonder Jun Wu didn't appoint anyone else to investigate Ming Yi's disappearance. If it could be anyone else beside him, Xie Lian couldn't help but think. So even the Windmaster Chan Chu Fengshen, everyone could be a possible agent. Shanla, I know you think highly of Hua Cheng right now. You understand your own position, and others shouldn't comment on the friends you make. However, when necessary, be wary of Hua Cheng. Don't give anything away. But he schooled his thoughts. Okay, so Xie Lian was about to be like, but we're besties, but okay. To become a supreme, one must experience an unimaginable suffering and pain. One either ascends from such calamities or is doomed to the depths of hell, never to return. The two supreme ghosts that emerged from Mount Tonglu were the Blackwater and Hua Cheng are both far more terrifying than you think. Oh, so it's the Blackwater. Okay, all right. But he doesn't want to mess with anybody, so he's just like, I'm okay. All right, we have so much to talk about. Xie Lian lowered his head, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. I don't know what his objectives or directives are, but he knows the motives and movements of the heavens. That in itself is disadvantageous. Oh. When he heard disadvantageous, Xie Lian raised his hand and blurted, Song Long, he... Oh. Hua Cheng shouldn't do anything overly malicious. If my lord thinks about it, with his strength, should he have wanted to cause havoc and raise hell, he would have done so already. If he didn't before, then without real reason, he wouldn't in the future. I should hope so, but you know I cannot be too careful. Oh, okay. He looked it over. This was a palace gifted to him by Jun Wu, glamorous, new, but at the same time, foreign. The large crimson red doors were shiny and bright, but it was already full of nailed-on talismans and charms forming a giant X, alarming anyone who should see it. Oh, no. Okay, so it's sealed shut since it was connected to elsewhere. He was welcome to rest in his palace instead. However, after staring at this palace of Shanla for a while, he turned around. He didn't want to go to the palace of the Windmaster either. He headed straight for the Ascension Gates and jumped. He passed, his point of landing was Mount Taisang. Upon the summit of Mount Taisang used to sit the cultivation center of the ancient kingdom of Shanla, the Royal Holy Pavilion. It was an impressively expensive cultivation center. Its training grounds and temples covered the entirety of Mount Taisang, worshipping numerous gods and immortals alike, scintillating and glorious. And then the main god worshipped was the martial heavenly emperor, and his golden temple was on the highest peak of the mountain. The Crown Prince Temple that once stood on the second highest peak was magnificent and grand. 800 years ago, the flaming red maples that covered Mount Taisang were infamous, and within the crimson maples were endless crowds of devotees. Ooh! However, when the kingdom of Shanla fell, the crowds of devotees became crowds of angry mobs, scaling the mountain to set ablaze the crown temple. But they ended up setting fire to Mount Taisang and burnt it down to nothing but blackened earth and ashes. Oh! It seeded with the dead, became even more fertile. And new seeds were planted upon the burnt earth, and new trees emerged. A few hundred years later, the mountain was fresh and covered once more, but the red leaves were no longer, and the scenery was very different than 800 years ago. Okay. When hiking the mountain in the past, there was a wide paved green path, and on the path one could often see a pilgrim or a young trainee hauling firewood or water. The path was now long gone. Rocks and debris, gathered with withered branches and sticks, had covered the tracks, burying it deep underground. As he climbed, he used only the strength of his legs, and when he ran into thorns or bushes, he'd take Feng Shin, sword still in his back, and cut them down. When he reached halfway up the mountain, he felt fatigued and leaned against a dead tree. Suddenly, the black shadow of an object came crashing down from above the branches, making weird cracking sounds as it rushed towards him. What? What? No! MXTX! Okay. In search of the past, retracing steps to Mount Taisang 2. What? It was a plank so rotten and rusty its original shape was indiscernible, and had 2 steel chains connected to either side. He knew immediately that it was a swing. Oh, in the past. He leaned against the tree and a swing fell down on him. Oh. It had swings installed everywhere for fun and for training. When he was started back when Xie Lian had only just started to retain memory. There was once when he accompanied his parents to visit the Royal Holy Pavilion to pray for blessings. He saw the young trainees sparring, flipping, and flopping all over the swings. And he clapped and shouted his appreciation. Oh, he thought that cultivation was something awesome and fun. It was left deep inside his heart. However, as for him formally entering this sect of cultivation in his later years, the reason was no longer because it seemed fun. Ah, interesting. Okay, so he's climbing Mount Olympus, right? Yeah. Every so often a critter would flash by. Oh, squirrels in the trees. The thorn blocked his path, ripping his clothes and limbs, but Xie Lian didn't notice at all. Oh, he reached the Crown Prince Summit. Of course, it wasn't originally called the Crown Prince Summit, but was changed after the Crown Prince Temple was constructed. Amidst the bushes and weeds, there were remnants of the pebble-paved grounds here and there, traces of a large burnt foundation hidden. That was once the foundation of the temple. Going across it through the rubble and ruins, through glass debris, was a fractured old well. It was easy to tell that it had been long dried up. Oh, he jumped in! What? Instead, traversed through that illusion and descended before his feet touched solid ground. What? Oh. He felt the bottom of the well, feeling up several bricks, and pressed them down in a certain order. With a rumbling noise, a short, small door appeared on the side. Xie Lian dropped down on all fours and crawled through the path opened by the small door. The moment he entered, he could hear another rumbling, shutting the opening. What? He knows the secret passage? He crawled in the tunnel and stood, strengthened his back, snapped his fingers, and held a small flicker of flames. Not far, another faint light appeared like a pearl, waking from a deep slumber, blinking open its bright eyes. More pearls lit up, spreading throughout, illuminating the surroundings. To the great hall of an underground palace. Above the great hall, thousands of sparkling stars were embedded. It must be hard to imagine the imperial mausoleum of the ancient kingdom of Zhanla was hidden beneath the scorched earth of Mount Taisang. Those brilliant stars were night pearls, and diamonds embedded in the ceiling. The night pearls brightened with light, and the diamonds reflected their radiance. When they crossed paths, the result was a bedazzling brilliance like a dream. It was like a minuscule Milky Way hidden below ground. Each of the night pearls and diamonds were priceless. Every single one was worth an entire lifetime of endless riches. However, Xie Lian didn't spare them any looks and walked directly through the great hall, entering the crypt at the very back. In comparison to the great hall, this tomb was exceedingly simple. As the chamber wasn't fully completed, there were no glamorous decor, only 2 coffins. Between the coffins stood a person, dressed in exquisite clothing, a golden mask on its face, its sword extended, sharp and dazzling, pointed to him. But this person only maintained that position and didn't make any movement. Without a single care for that person. However, there was no face, and under those exquisite clothes there was no person. The only thing standing was an empty stack held together by bundles of dry hay. For so long, only the set of elegant dress robes and mask had stood by the sides of those two solitary coffins in his stead. On top of each coffin was a small golden plate, but the things in those plates were wildly desperate. Fruits of some sort, dried and shriveled to the core, and blackened, rotten, hard blocks of who knows what. Xie Lian entered the chamber. After Xie Lian entered the chamber, he cleaned out those things and threw them out by the corner of the crypt. He felt around his sleeves and folds. Originally, he'd had a half-eaten bun on him, but that bun was given to Hua Cheng, so he had nothing. Father, Mother, I deeply apologize. I've forgotten to bring something for this visit. Of course, no one answered him. Oh, Mother, I saw Qi Rong. Qi Rong didn't die, he turned into a ghost. I don't know how he lived these past hundreds of years. He killed a lot of people, and now there are people trying to kill him. The heavens probably won't forgive him either. I don't know what to do with him. Oh. He listened closely. It wasn't a hallucination, it was a sound of crying. The cry was low and soft and would be easily missed if he didn't pay close attention. It was high-pitched. It wasn't a child. It must be a woman. They were only separated by a thin wall. The sound came from the coffin he was leaning on. His first words that came blurting out were unconsciously joyous. Mother, is that you? Oh, knowing that what he had desperately hoped for would never come true, his mother passed 800 years ago, relieved of suffering, and she had never devolved into a grudging ghost. The emotion behind those cries was not of despair, but terror. In that very moment, who in the world would be hiding in his mother's coffin and crying? Oh! He couldn't hold back for another second. He threw open the cover of the coffin with his left hand, his right arm function ready to strike. The sword stopped in his path. Lying in the coffin singularly was the form of a person covered in elegant black attire, its face wrapped with a face cover. The only possible person who it should have been was his mother, but the one lying in the casket was most definitely not her. The form was small and short, its body type completely different. And the most significant thing was this person was trembling. It was a real live person. He ripped off the face cover. Sure enough, beneath the fabric was the face of a young child. His heart froze the very moment. He grabbed the child, lifted him, and his voice shocked and panicked. Where's my mother? Where's my mother? What did you do to my mother's body? It didn't look anything out of the ordinary. It was in fact woven by the silk of an extremely rare worm. The silk was a tribute from a small foreign nation, and weaving it to clothing took intricate craftsmanship. Interwoven with fragrant herbal satchels and sealed into the coffin, the cadaver would remain preserved for thousands of years, allowing the dead to look as if they were still among the living. However, at that moment, the one wearing that silk black dress was this child. So where did the body of his mother go? What condition would it be now? Xie Lian didn't dare think deeply upon it, and could only demand answers from this unknown child in his hold. Where's my mother? Who are you? Why are you here? What'd you do with my mother's body? But how could a child, scared to tears, answer any of his questions? He was too scared to even speak. Xie Lian dragged him out of the coffin and realized that some ashen white powder had been shaken out of the black dress from the movement. Face white as a sheet, he looked into the coffin and found the bottom of the casket was also covered with a thin layer of powder. The world spun, and Xie Lian felt his heart stop. His grip loosened, letting the child go, and he fell to his knees before the coffin paralyzed. He didn't dare touch that powder with his hands, but he couldn't just let it sit and sift either, like incense ashes flying to the wind, although in denial he knew deep within what that was. It was his mom. Oh my God. After having forcibly removed the silk from the funeral garb, what else could a sealed cadaver of 800 years become? Instantly, Xie Lian's mind fell to chaos. Unable to think, he held his head with his hands, and there was ringing in his ears. Just then his back tensed, his instincts sensed danger behind, and he whipped his head around, his hand fast like lightning, and grabbed barehandedly the blade of a sword. Someone behind his back had tried to stab him, and this was the person that was the stack of bundled hay. What? Turns out someone had long since snuck in, dressed themselves in that exquisite attire, put on the mask, and disguised themselves as a lifeless haystack waiting for him silently. A loud clanging rang through the air, and Xie Lian broke that blade in 2 halves with his bare hands, his face unchanging with the blood now pooling in his palms. He raised his leg and kicked that person in the abdomen, stomping them firmly to the ground. Oh! He bent down and slapped away the golden mask with one hand, revealing the face of a young man. Who are you, grave robber, and how'd you get in? Just then the child yelled, Daddy! This cry made Xie Lian remember. This man and the child had looked familiar. Weren't they the pair that he had saved, that Qi Rong almost cooked and ate back at the Green Ghost lair? He understood the situation instantaneously. He swung a punch like thunder at the man's jaw, roaring, Qi Rong, get the hell out, I'm going to kill you! Oh my god, it's Qi Rong! What? Oh my god, cousin Crown Prince, what a joyous occasion! We meet again! Oh my god! Oh my god, he had became formless. He possessed the young father. Oh my god, no need for further explanation. But after his material body was thrown into the cauldron by Lan Chanchu and melted to avoid pursuit, he must have used the chaos of everyone running for their lives to possess the young man and came to the imperial tomb of Shanle. Otherwise, how could any commoner know of the secret catacomb of the Shanle royalty? And how could they have come in such a short period of time? The child he brought may have been for food, or maybe it was for hiding him in the coffin to divert Xie Lian's attention, to ambush him from behind. He held his face, looking wronged by Xie Lian's punch, and shouted, Cousin, why are you so mad? It's not like you died from a stab wound. Oh, how had my mother always treated you? And you treat her like this, how could you to her body? Oh, Auntie is long dead. That person is no more, so what difference do corpses or ashes make? The corpse only changed form, isn't it still there? Here you are, tears and snot. Weren't you much tougher when you killed Anla? I can't believe my good cousin actually has 2 faces. He changed his face and spat. How could I treat her like this? You're the one to blame. Don't you even know how to reflect on yourself? This is all your fault. You, god of misfortune, have the gall to come cry at the imperial tomb of Shanle. Oh my god! Oh my god! That's right, just like this. This is more like you. Fight, kill, fight ruthlessly, kill cruelly. Don't give me that saintly look as if you're so burdened with unspeakable sin. Disgusting! Dad, are you alright? He couldn't understand what was happening, only that his father was being trampled. From his point of view, Xie Lian was like a violent demon. But scared of losing his only father, he wouldn't back down and tried desperately to pull off the boot from his father's chest. That young man wouldn't stop spewing blood, scaring the child half to death, and he used his hands to cover his father's mouth as if he could stop the bleeding. Seeing this, Xie Lian slowly calmed down, realizing the owner of this body was innocent, and eased the foot slightly. Oh, he nudged him with the cheek with function. Qi Rong, get the hell out yourself. Don't believe I won't pull out your spirit with your tongue. Technically, to pull out the tongue of another from the root, one could certainly pull out the attached ghost haunting it along with it. I won't get the hell out! What are you gonna do? Go on, pull, come! Gonna kill me? I might just die so I don't miss this chance, otherwise you might ever find my ashes in this lifetime. He even stuck out his tongue intentionally, as if he couldn't wait for Xie Lian to make good on his threat, and use that bloody method to pull his spirit out from this fleshy body. He blew many raspberries! Oh my god! It's not like the person I'm possessing is anyone important, so why don't you? No one would know. No one would care. Your Highness, holy radiance wouldn't be damaged. Look, I crumbled your mother to ashes. Aren't you going to kill me? The child couldn't move Xie Lian's boot, so he hugged his leg and cried louder, Don't kill my daddy. Don't kill my daddy. His breathing became labored, his head dizzy, his body shaking, his hands itching to crush Qi Rong's skull, but he couldn't do it. Oh, cousin Crown Prince, what a failure. What an absolute failure. Oh, shut up. But the more enraged he got, the happier Qi Rong became. To be able to drag the both of them to the same hell, Qi Rong was filled with rapture, and his eyes shone brightly. See, there's your true face. Cousin Crown Prince who knows you better than me in this world. You might look like a pathetic drowned dog that anyone could trample now, but I know. You're still proud on the inside. You couldn't stand anyone calling you a failure. You must hate me for calling you a failure. Have I stabbed your heart enough to bleed? Hurry, come! Or are you going to tell me loudly that this body is innocent? So you won't kill me in order to spare him. Come, show me what you'll do! With so much provocation blended in that cocky, crazed laughter, Xie Lian couldn't stand it anymore. Swing and Feng Shen was unsheathed, and with a flash of a swing, the ominous black blade struck down. No! No! Book 1 ending! No! 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 We had 1 week of... We had 1 week of no cliffhangers! No! MXTX! Shut up! So... What? So wait. I looked in this book and I was like, wait, what? End of book 1? wait, what? And yeah, it turns out they're split into arcs. So it's like, you know, when you have a big novel series and they have parts, like if you have a giant novel and they split it into parts. So this was the end of part 1. Part 1. Now, before we go any further, one quick note. I don't want to know how many parts we have. I don't want to know how many parts. All right. I don't want to be. I have a feeling that they are segmented into certain things. And so yeah, the second arc is going to be called the God-pleasing Crown Prince, which seems like it's focused on Xie Lian. Now, I think I remember that part 1 in book 1 was called the Crimson Rain Sought Flower. So okay, so that's interesting. So in this very first arc, we have meeting San Long, aka Hua Cheng, and meeting him and setting him and Xie Lian up as that I got, like, as I was editing, I went back through and like edited a little bit before starting this discussion, and all I could think in my head was, I took a lot of notes, and Whiteboard Coon's gonna have fun with this discussion. I started recording early tonight, and I'm like, I'm glad I did, because this might take a while. And maybe not. But, God, just like MXTX, we are not even through volume 2. We're close. We are like at like 2/3 of the way through volume 2. And you start a second arc now. And what I love that you all did was that you didn't spoil me that Qi Rong would come back this quickly. That's why there weren't that many comments this week. Y'all were like, I don't want to say anything. Because I was like, who knows when we'll see Qi Rong again. Maybe one day way off in the distance, like volume 4. I honestly thought like volume 4, volume 5, we'd see Qi Rong again. I'm like, oh, well, he's going to be gone. We're going to start a new part of the story. We're going to get introduced to maybe another calamity, who knows? And then we'll just move on. And maybe Qi Rong will show up volume 4, volume 5, and Chan Chu will have defeated him and that'll be it. No, he just showed right back up 2 chapters later. 3 technically, but I was like, are you joking? It's like a freaking horror movie. God, MXTX, she could write horror. If she wrote a straight horror movie, I mean, this story there is a horror subgenre to it because there's some freaky stuff going on. But damn, wow, okay. There is so much going on with these chapters. I don't know where to start. I really don't know, because there's stuff with Hua Cheng and Jun Wu. There's stuff with Mu Qing and Feng Shen. The WINDMASTER is the best BFF ever. I was like, the WINDMASTER may be like in my top 3 right now. It may be Xie Lian, Hua Cheng, and then the WINDMASTER, because the WINDMASTER is like the best friend. The BFF is just like, let's just all be friends. And also, like, you know, maybe you guys could be like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm gonna look up. I'm assuming sworn brother means like, you know, like a sworn brother, like Gege, like, you know, second, you know, like a sworn brother in arms. And Hua Cheng's like, we're not settling for just that. And Feng Shen's like, we need to settle for just that. I was like, there's so much fun stuff with these chapters. I'm glad I read all 4. I'm glad you all, it's very fun because I was telling the Discord, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to read all 4 chapters. And everybody was super polite in the Discord. And I can't remember who it was, but someone was like, okay, maybe it was Reiki. They were just like, maybe here you go. There's just like one chapters 56 and 57 is like 12 pages, 50, 55 and 54, 12 pages, 56 and 57 are 13 pages. So you do what you want. I was like, okay, well, it's only 25 pages. I can handle that. I'm so glad I did. Thank you for not spoiling me. And thank you for subtly and, Xie Lian like convincing me to read all those pages because, oh my God, I'm glad I did. Finished off part 1 of this book, of this series. And what a fitting way to end part 1. Like, just as he's swinging down the sword, I'm like, is he really going to... But here's the thing. Even if he, slices up the dad's body, it's not going to kill Qi Rong. Qi Rong's ashes are what kill Qi Rong. So it's like, is Xie Lian, out of anger and despair, going to really attack Qi Rong? Or is it going to cut out and then we find out that no, he was doing something else to, save the kid and the dad or whatnot? We don't know. I don't know. Of course, the MXTX stops it before we can find out because that's just how she rolls. So, oh my God, we need to, I'm going to put a thing up here in the corner and it's going to be about Xie Lian and failure. Because Qi Rong thinks that he has got Xie Lian by the balls. He's like, I know, you just hate people calling you a failure. And so that's your weakness. Because Qi Rong hates when people call him disgusting. But he knows he's disgusting, right? But it still bothers him. So he, like Xie Lian, thinks, well, I'm disgusting. I know it, but I hate it. You're a failure. You know it, but you hate it. So we're kind of the same, right? And there's so many cool things that these 4 chapters do as far as tying to things we already know from the story, tying to things about characters, tying characters together, talking about differences between characters and how they're similar and different. These 4 chapters do an amazing job, MXTX does, of doing this character work and weaving them in and out that I'm like, it's just mind-blowing, right? So to start out, though, I want to put Xie Lian over here. Xie Lian thinks that he is no different than Qi Rong. Because Hua Cheng's kind of like, oh, well, Qi Rong, isn't it funny? Ha ha ha, he spent 800 years trying to become a supreme when he can still only stay a savage. Isn't that sad? And Xie Lian's like, yeah, it's kind of like me. It's like I've lived for 800 years and I can't seem to keep my godly status and I can't die. Just like Qi Rong. Like, Xie Lian's just like the thunder cloud is above his head, just raining on him all the time. And he's so sad about it. He's like, I've just gone nowhere. I'm not good at dying and I've gone nowhere. Kind of like Qi Rong. So he believes he's a failure in terms of being a heavenly official, which is really, really sad. And there's a moment, it's book ended with this chapter and then chapter 57, where he goes to the kneeling statue. They see, and the kneeling statue has a very crying face, so his face all scrunched up like he's an ugly crier, which we've not really seen Xie Lian cry, so I guess we don't know if he is or not. And he splits the statue in half. And I thought that was kind of cool. I'm gonna put Xie Lian right here. That he splits the statue in half before it goes to dust. And nobody makes a comment about they don't see it. And I feel like that's kind of a comment on Xie Lian, that Xie Lian has this weird dynamic between them, this weird duality where he is trying to be this pristine cultivator that does good, that wants to be a shining example for the common people. And no, we can do things and things can be optimistic and we can do things right and everything will be right as rain. And it's a duality between that side of him and the side of him that gets mad and punches Qi Rong and is like, I hate you and will kill you. There's this duality. And Xie Lian tries to tell people, he's like, I'm not who you think I am. You think I'm a saint? Nah, I'm just putting on a good act. I'm really not. There's a lot of darkness within Xie Lian and a lot of self-loathing. And he just feels so weighed down by it. And he's been just stewing on it for 800 years. It's a wonder he's not a ghost, to be honest. It's a wonder he's because he just is wallowing in this self-despair, right? He's just wallowing in self-loathing. It's a wonder. They say he's a god of misfortune. That sounds like a ghostly title to me. This idea of being this god of misfortune. It's like, how is that different than a ghost or a demon? He's even described as a demon in chapter 57 by the little kid, like how he appears, right? Like, he's like, how am I any different than... I think that's one of the reasons that he can be so supportive and non-judgmental towards Hua Cheng, because he's like, how am I any different than a ghost? You know, I've killed all these people and been responsible for their deaths. How am I any different? It's like, ugh. But yeah. So he splits it in half, and then he doesn't know what's going to become of Chu. He's like, how is this going to affect him? Is it going to affect his personality? The fact that he laments that he's like, another thing that he gets to point out that he's a failure for is that he didn't save Lan Chu. He's like, when I first saw him back at the start of, after the Banyu arc, he's like, when I first saw him, I saw how jovial he was and how much he was like he was in the past. And he thought, okay, see, everything's still right as rain. He's still Chu and it's okay. But now he's like, now that he knows the truth, he's going to be different. And he's like, it's going to be weird and awkward. And he's like, and I failed. I failed to save him from that truth. And so I like that he decides with Hua Cheng to go and save people in the cave. He's like, okay, well, let's just leave and go save the people, because Qi Rong, he left people in the cave. We need to go make sure that they're all safe. And I like that Xie Lian kind of calms himself down. He uses, that's interesting. He uses the mission to calm himself. Because I get the feeling that Xie Lian, when he's alone and in his own head, it's not a good space. He gets so worked up and down on himself. It's just not a good environment. And so he uses saving people as like a focal point. He's like, okay, well, if we just save the people in the cave, okay, let's do that. Let's focus on the mission. We can do it. And that kind of gets himself to be focused, right? But then, damn it, as much as I love the WINDMASTER, I was like, we were so close to finding some damn answers, weren't we? Because Xie Lian starts asking questions. He's like, how do you know so much? And Hua Cheng is quite mysterious. He is so mysterious. I'm going to put Hua Cheng right here. We're going to put Hua Cheng here, and we're going to put Jun Wu over here, because I think that they're two important people to mention up. Hua Cheng is quite mysterious. Mysterious, but playful. He's mysterious but playful. He's kind of like teasing Xie Lian. He's like, I don't really want to talk about it, how I know things. But he is not malicious and genuine. There's nothing deceiving about what he tells Xie Lian. Xie Lian just asks, he's like, well, how do you know so much? And Hua Cheng's like, well, I've gotten around to hear things, He's very mysterious. And Xie Lian's like, I know you're from my past. He's like, how could you know all this about me? Now, he does do some sleuthing, some Sherlock-style sleuthing, and Hua Cheng's like, well, figuring out that Qi Rong was the leader of the Gilded Banquet Rebellion, he's like, that wasn't very hard, because he's like, I looked into your past, I know Qi Rong's related to you, know he was kind of a nationalist for the for the Zhanla people, had it out for the Yongans, was maybe leading rebellion. He's like, I heard from various sources kind of all these things and kind of pieced it together and was like, oh yeah, that checks out. And he's like, and I know what type of person Qi Rong is, so no, it all fit. And it's like, okay. So he's able to do that, but Xie Lian just can't remember where Hua Cheng is from his past. He just can't figure it out. And he's like, how did you know me? And Xie Lian, he's like, did you not suspect the Goshi Feng Xin? And Hua Cheng admits at first, he's like, I thought Qi Rong was the one responsible and that the Goshi Feng Xin was a lackey of his. So he doesn't say from the start that Xie Lian was never suspicious. He says, oh no, I thought it was Qi Rong and maybe the Goshi Feng Xin was a lackey of his that finished the job for him. He's like, but then when I realized, he's like, when I heard your story to Chu, that's curious. How did he know? How did he know the story to Chu? I guess when they were talking Well, he would have. I'm thinking of back at the Heavenly Palace in the Heavenly Realm. He's talking about when they were down there in the cave, and he was before Chang'e was turned into a doll. When Xie Lian told him the story, he was like, "Oh, I figured it out that it's not you." He's like, "Oh, of course, Qi Rong is the mastermind." There's a little bit of question there of how he kind of maybe got to that conclusion. We'll talk about the whole spy business later. We'll talk about all that. I've got theories, but we'll talk about it. But the point is that he says, well, he's like, I wasn't sure if Qi Rong was the one behind it, but I knew that you were not. I knew it wasn't you. And Xie Lian is like, look, he kind of gets a little bit like, oh, dude, no. He's like, you shouldn't. And this part was so sad. He was like, you shouldn't have hope in others. That is a terribly depressing statement. You shouldn't have hope in others or think anyone is perfect, because you'll just be disappointed. And I didn't realize at the time, but then when we go back, it all ties back to Qi Rong. Again, another aspect in which Xie Lian is a failure is Qi Rong and his idolizing. Qi Rong idolized Xie Lian from a young age and said the crown prince is perfect. And Xie Lian's like, no. And then when the other failure was Shanla falling to the White Calamity, that was another failure. And when he failed them, then he's like, no, my Qi Rong was so disappointed in me that it all became chaos and insanity from that point. So he's like, no. He says you shouldn't have hope in another because you'll sadly be let down. You shouldn't, which is that the funniest thing is that basically his thing is do not worship anyone. Which is like the antithesis of the whole heavenly realm. He's like, you shouldn't worship anyone. You'll be disappointed. Because again, like you talked about with the WINDMASTER chapters back, when he first met the WINDMASTER, he thought they were a saint. And then after getting to know them, he was like, oh, no, you're not a saint. I mean, you're a good person, but you're not what I thought you were. You'll be disappointed. So he's like, you shouldn't worship anyone, right? Otherwise, you'll be disappointed. However, after he says that, Hua Cheng's like, I don't care if anyone else is disappointed. Who cares what? That's their own business. He does not care to disappoint others. But he does say this, and this line, he says, to some, the existence of a certain person is hope itself. So the very existence of a certain person, is hope itself. And we all know who he's talking about. He's saying that by existing, Xie Lian is hope for him. That everything he's doing is for Xie Lian because Xie Lian gives him hope. And it ties back to the damn boy on the cover of the book that was saved by Xie Lian. And he's like, I don't know what to live for. And Xie Lian's like, if you have nothing else to live for me. And thus he has, right? And thus Hua Cheng has. And it's like, he's like, as long as you're here, I have hope. So who cares if other people are disappointed? And it's a funny contrast because Xie Lian's like, well, no one is worth that much love. And Hua Cheng's like, yes, you are worth that much love. And it's like, quit being the most romantic MXTX because I can't take it anymore. But yeah, and then Xie Lian's just like, who are you? Like, what is going on? And Xie Lian realizes the questions that he's asking of who are you might be inappropriate because Hua Cheng is a ghost. And we've established that ghosts don't normally say their real name unless you're Qi Rong and you're crazy. And so he's just like, oh, I'm asking inappropriate questions. I don't know if this is right to ask. And then, damn it, I was like, we were so close to finding things out. And the WINDMASTER shows up with Feng Shen. Of course Feng Shen went to go rescue Xie Lian. I love that, like, Mu Qing wasn't going. But I love that Feng Shen and the WINDMASTER are like Xie Lian's besties. And I like that even after all these years. Now, whether Function is doing it out of guilt, I think that there's a twinge of guilt there, but I think that Function is mainly doing it out of love for Xie Lian. And he's trying to make up for all this lost time. He's trying to make up for for the wrongs that happened in the past, right? He's trying to make up for it. And you can't blame him, right? And so he's just like, no, it's fine. And so I like that the WINDMASTER is so smooth and so good at what they do. I'm like, oh my God. Because the WINDMASTER instantly is like, oh, Hua Cheng, I'm so sorry for wrecking Paradise Manor. That's why you kidnapped Xie Lian. Right as we're talking, I'm hooked up to the communication array, so we're kind of being wiretapped right now. So anything I say is going to go straight up to them. So sorry about your manor. That's why you took Xie Lian, right? And just like, he's trying to be like, hey, I'm just trying to save my buddy and you. The WINDMASTER is like the biggest like bro wingwoman ever. They're just like, come on. And it's funny because Xie Lian realizes that Hua Cheng's gotten onto the act. Hua Cheng's like, oh, I'm going to cooperate with you and we're going to get... Because for Hua Cheng, he's like, oh, this is going to get Xie Lian out of blame. Can do. Hua Cheng's like, oh, this gets my bae out of trouble. I'm on board with you, WINDMASTER. And it's like, yeah, sure thing. So that's interesting. And so we're going to talk about that spy business. We're going to talk about the spy business. Is it the WINDMASTER? We're going to talk about it. I know a lot of you are sitting there like, ah! But we're going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. But the WINDMASTER's like, oh my God, yeah. It totally makes sense. It gets it. And then Hua Cheng wants to cooperate. But Xie Lian, this is the crazy thing about Xie Lian. Xie Lian wants transparency unless it's about himself. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Xie Lian wants transparency, especially when it comes to Hua Cheng, but not when it's about himself. He's like, he's like, now wait a minute. He's like, we should be honest in this situation. I'm like, Xie Lian, you just spent the last 4 chapters trying to be dishonest about something with Chu in your past, but this situation that might, throw Hua Cheng's name in a different direction, we need to be wholly genuine about it. And so the WINDMASTER sends exchanges up to the heavenly realm to try to clear up the matter. And I like this note the WINDMASTER says, because Xie Lian's like, well, Hua Cheng had good intentions, and the WINDMASTER's like, yeah, good intentions are good and all, but a good intention through word of mouth will always become negative. And I'm like, if that's not, it's like gossip will taint any good intention and make it bad. And I'm like, well, if that's not something that's probably going to come up in this story again and again, okay. I love when MXTX gets on her like train about gossip and mob mentality and uses that in her stories to like prove a point. It's just, it's great. It's wonderful. But yeah. And so I love the WINDMASTER's like, well, of course I know that's how it works. I'm the most popular in the heavens for a reason, baby. The WINDMASTER's like, I became popular for a reason. I know how the game goes. I just play the game, even if I don't quite believe in the rules. But Function's not having this. Function draws out that bow, that beautiful bow. I love that it means like godly wind. It's awesome, this black bow. I love that that's his weapon, right? And then WINDMASTER's like, well, now wait a minute, Function. Like, we know that Hua Cheng is Xie Lian's friend. And Function's like, he's a supreme. Function is kind of, it's funny. It's funny because we have Jun Wu. And Function is kind of on the same side as Jun Wu. Function's like, we shouldn't trust Hua Cheng. He's not safe. He's going to hurt our sweet divine being. And the WINDMASTER's like, come on. Like, no. Can't you see the sparks between these two? So we have the WINDMASTER over here. The WINDMASTER's like, oh no, Hua Cheng is clearly fine. He's okay. He's not trying to hurt anybody. And so there's this little bit of divide there. And God, the fact that the WINDMASTER's just like, okay, and just bumps Function with her boobs. And Function's reaction is so like just over the top. He's just like, never touch me again. Like, I'm like, dude, I don't know what the phobia is. I know androphobia is when you're afraid of men. I don't know what the title is if you're afraid of women, but Function has it. He has a phobia to women. I'm like, dude. and he just cannot take it, right? Oh my God. And he freaks out. And so then they explain the Qi Rong incident. And I like that Hua Cheng explains it. I like that Hua Cheng explains the story. He's like, okay, here's the deal. This is what's happened. And the Windmaster's like, well, I'm glad that was all a misunderstanding. Good. Like, glad we settled all of that. And Function's not quite having it. He's like, well, I didn't realize it was the same Qi Rong as before, because what ghost would keep the same name as their living self? And then Xie Lian's like, he is crazy. And Function's like, oh yeah, he's crazy. Never mind. So I like that we get a tie to the past that Function knows Qi Rong, right? Function knew Qi Rong. I like that. And so we find out how they're related, that Qi Rong, they're not distant cousins. They are like first cousins. Like the banjos are playing, they are first cousins. And his mom is the younger sister of Xie Lian's mom. Gonna make note, Xie Lian is a mama's boy. He is a mama's boy. He didn't talk to his dad in the coffins. He was like, hey dad, what's up? Mom! He is a mama's boy. For sure. And Qi Rong is, and maybe Xie Lian was talking about Qi Rong to his mom because it's his mom's nephew by blood and the dad's only by marriage. So maybe that was the reason, but he definitely seems like a mama's boy, right? But yeah. So Function is not surprised. He was Xie Lian's guard back in the day, around the time Qi Rong was a kid. And a lot of the stuff they reveal to us all makes sense. Like, he was crass, he was undisciplined and spoiled. He did not get a spanking when he was a kid, and this is the problem. He should have got a butt whooping maybe once or twice, and he would have been a lot better for it. But, and maybe not. Maybe not, because he gets punched by Xie Lian, it does nothing. So maybe that would have made no difference whatsoever. But he wasn't disciplined. He was spoiled, he was undisciplined. People wouldn't punish him because he was part of the royal family. He was the queen's nephew, so he got away with everything. And he kept saying, my cousin, the crown prince, is perfect. And he tried to please Xie Lian. And he would basically, it ties back to Xie Lian warning, don't let anybody think that you're perfect. And the point where he would be like, he had a penchant for violence. He would use Xie Lian almost as an excuse to be violent towards people. So maybe the butt whooping wouldn't have helped. But he used Xie Lian as an excuse. And so when people would maybe spit beside the temple or anything, he would basically beat them to death. And was just a cruel and awful person. But the thing of it is, again, tie back to Xie Lian, he did not discipline Qi Rong. He never did anything about it. He let Qi Rong do what he wanted, and he lectured him. And he was like, don't do that, Qi Rong. And Qi Rong's like, nah, and just went away. So it didn't do anything. And Xie Lian knew it, right? But it didn't work. And so then Function was left to clean up the mess. So after Xie Lian ascended and Qi Rong would go crazy and beat up people that desecrated or tried to vandalize the temples, Function would be the one sent to guard and clean up the mess for it, right? And he was the deputy at the time. And I can't get over the Windmasters. Well, ain't that something? I just can't. Best character, best boy, best girl. And this is the thing too. The Windmaster's like, man, Xie Lian, you know all the people, right? Isn't that funny how this works? The Southeast and Southwest martial gods were your old buddies. Lan Shanchu was your disciple. Qi Rong, one of the four calamities, was your cousin, and you clearly have ties to the white calamity. And then the Crimson Rainsop Flower is your sworn brother, and me, I'm your friend. What is this world? What a world. And I like that when he says that Hua Cheng is the sworn brother, Giga, if you will, maybe, I feel like Hua Cheng was shocked and was being like, I felt like Hua Cheng was either shocked oh, you're acknowledging me as that? Or Hua Cheng was like, I'm not worthy. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to just point out the theory that maybe, I'm going to put Windmaster, the thing about the Windmaster being a spy. I'm going to put that right there and just going to leave it there, okay? But if the Windmaster is a spy for Hua Cheng, if that were the case, then in that regard, we need to go through this because I'm my mind is going crazy with theories. And when we get to the spy business, I'll map it out. But if the Windmaster is a spy for Hua Cheng, whenever the Windmaster said, oh, it's your sworn brother, either one of three things. Either Hua Cheng was like, oh, someone else is seeing it. It's not just me. Great. Glad other people are acknowledging it. 2, Hua Cheng is like, I am not worthy to be his sworn brother. I worship Xie Lian, but I'm not good enough to be his lover. Oh my gosh, no. Or 3, if the Windmaster is a spy, Hua Cheng's like, you're getting a little crass here. You're making some assumptions. Shut up, Windmaster. You're putting me in too much of a favorable light in this moment. Just lay off a little bit, right? So maybe that's it. But Function's not having it. Function's like, sworn brother, no. I feel like Function and Mu Qing kind of have like the Fu Yao and non-Feng mentality of like, leave our Xie Lian alone, right? It's great, but yeah, Xie Lian with his 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon going on. And so, Function, who's clearly like with Team Jun Wu. Function is Team Jun Wu, Windmaster's Team Hua Cheng. Function's like, you need to go back and tell Jun Wu what's happened, right? You need to go back. He doesn't want Xie Lian hanging around Hua Cheng. And Hua Cheng calls him out. He's like, wow, do you just not think that Xie Lian needs to hang around me? And Function's like, yes, that's exactly what I think. I think Xie Lian's place is by Jun Wu's side, not yours. Crimson Rain Flower. And I like that Hua Cheng just snorts about it. He's like, really? And Xie Lian is like, well, I'll go back, but first we need to clean up this mess here in the cave. Like, we need to get rid of all the ghosts, make sure all the people are all right. And Function offers to do it instead, being like, hey, look, I'll clean up the mess. You go back and do your duty and do that. And Xie Lian agrees. And I like that Hua Cheng's like, well, you'll be here for the majority of a month cleaning this up. And Function's like, what, you think you can do it in a second? And that's kind of literally what it is, what he does. He kind of not only cleans up the mess, but he's like, oh, you don't think I'm powerful? Okay. And just like as an insult, slathers Function with the bloody rain as he like shields Xie Lian, so not a drop gets on him. And conveniently, again, tying to this, what you're talking about, the Windmaster just happens to step out of the way and is conveniently shielded as well. It's just Function. I do like to imagine, I can't wait to see it in the Donghua, but I like to imagine Function showing up at the Heavenly Realm covered in blood like Carrie style. And he has like the whiskers of the whisks sticking out of him and he's just like, and the Windmaster's like, I tried to help. Like, I'm imagining that's what's happening. Right? So he said he could handle it, and he shields him. And I love that all Hua Cheng says is he, like, flips his hair and goes back. He's like, how's that for show? I'm like, ah! I'm just like, oh, my God. I am clearly Team Hua Cheng, if you did not guess at this point. And we'll talk about why later, but I'm just like, what a diva. It's just stamping out there. And Xie Lian, like, chases after him before he leaves, being like, oh, wait. You know, if you want me to come, I'll help you, I'll help you rebuild Paradise Manor because it's kind of my fault. So I'll help you rebuild it if you want. And I just love that Hua Cheng's like, he's like, look, you don't have to help me rebuild it. You just sit back and watch. I'm like, ugh. I just imagine Hua Cheng. Hua Cheng's the kind of guy that Xie Lian would just be sitting there with like a drink with an umbrella in it. And Hua Cheng's like got an axe chopping firewood for him, being like, is this all right, Crown Prince? And he's like, I guess. Like just oblivious to everything. I'm like, oh my God. And he tells Xie Lian that he thinks too much. And here's the thing. He says, you think too much. He's like, you overthink things. He says, you think too much. And then he says that you should keep doing what you want to do. So we're going to talk about this. Keep doing what you want. You don't owe anybody anything. Is what he's saying. You owe them nothing. He's like, you ascended 3 times and they've booted you out twice. You don't owe those Heavenly Realm officials a thing. They're cruel to you. They're a bunch of gossipy bitches. They don't respect you. What do you owe them? Nothing. You do whatever you want. Like you earned it, right? They have no right to tell you what to do. I'm like, ugh. He's like, what responsibilities do you have? You don't have any followers. You've been shackled. They basically made you like you're a dog. Why should you have to go and do whatever they want to? He's like, you should be free to do whatever you want now. And he's like, just keep doing what you want. Don't let them tell you what to do. And I'm like, oh, good on you, Hua Cheng. He's trying to tell Xie Lian, he's like, quit being burdened and weighed down by everything. He's like, it's just not healthy. And so Hua Cheng, and here's the thing about it. The words that Hua Cheng says to him, I'm going to put it over here. They filled him with confidence. They filled him with confidence and courage. They made him feel better. He was like, well, thanks. Thanks, Hua Cheng. Like, made him feel good. It's like, yeah, somebody giving you some nice words of advice, right? And whenever the Windmaster said, oh, you're so lucky to have a friend like Hua Cheng, Xie Lian's like, it's the first time everybody's told me I'm lucky. I'm like 800 years and no one's told you you're lucky in 800 years? I was like, oh, Xie Lian, no. It's so sad. And Windmaster just being BFF over here is like, no, it's good. And so we go back. We go back to the heavenly realm. I love that Function walks in and Mu Qing wants to say something. Mu Qing's like biting his tongue, being like, he wants to say something. Now the question is, was he concerned for Function, or was he really just wanted to be a sassy minx and he didn't get a chance to? Or both. He is a tsundere, so could be both, right? But Jun Wu imitating Xie Lian with the head on his temple, like just exhausted, right? And Xie Lian can relate. So Xie Lian can relate to Jun Wu's exhaustion, right? Because apparently in all this, they don't have very many meetings. It's like a once a month board meeting thing. And now everybody's in the middle of this. The middle upper courts are in a panic, thinking Hua Cheng is going to storm in and fight them all single-handedly. And so Jun Wu is just exhausted. And I love this line where it's like, many who wanted their voices heard, even if it was nothing but noise. Which is so true. Some people just want to talk to hear themselves talk, and you're just like, this is not helping the situation at all, right? And so the officials are like wanting to stop Hua Cheng, and I'm like, you and what army? Because he seems pretty unstoppable, right? But Mu Qing is trying to point out, Mu Qing's like, okay, let's cut through the BS. Hua Cheng wasn't kidnapping Xie Lian. Xie Lian ran away. So I like that the Windmaster and Mu Qing are kind of on opposite sides. You have the Windmaster, right, who is trying, here's the thing, Windmaster is trying to make both Xie Lian and Hua Cheng look innocent. Windmaster's trying to make them look innocent, right? Then you have Mu Qing over here, and Mu Qing is just wanting the truth to be out. Mu Qing is just like, can we just like state the obvious and that Xie Lian ran away and that Hua Cheng didn't kidnap him? Can we just put that out there? Like, Mu Qing just doesn't want to beat around the bush, right? And so I like that the Windmaster tries to stand up for Xie Lian and blame Mu Qing for the security breach. I like the Windmaster was like, well, who was on duty that night watching over security when Xie Lian got kidnapped? And Windmaster thought they had it all figured out, and they were like, who was it? And then Pei Ming's like, that was me. It's like, Pei Ming shows up again for 5 seconds to be like, I screwed the pooch. And it's like, oh my God! And then, of course, Windmaster's like, well, I didn't anticipate this happening, but I love it. I love that Pei Ming stops in for 5 minutes, causes a scene, and then leaves. And I love that later we get that Mu Qing and Function offered to help him strengthen security. I just imagine the three of them in like IT business suits, like just messing with the security of the Heavenly Palace, the Heavenly Realm. I imagine it, and it's freaking hilarious. I love it so much. But yeah, so Long Chanchu has not been reporting in. And then he finally does. And the Windmaster's like, oh, he usually reports in really quickly. And Xie Lian's like, well, he's just had like an identity crisis and an existential situation happen. And he reports in to say that Xie Lian should not be banished. And that after he's done messing with Qi Rong, he's going to deal with the crowned prince, His Royal Highness. Which, if Xie Lian kills Qi Rong, he may not have to worry about it. Who knows, right? Oh my gosh, that I can't believe we got that entire end of chapter 57. I'm still like floored, but we've not got there yet. And so everybody else is kind of disappointed by that. They're like, oh, we were expecting this big fight, and it's just, that's all we get. He's gonna deal with it later. Like they're so sad they didn't get to see bloodshed over an event that didn't have anything to do with any of their business. Surprising no one. But Xie Lian sticks around to talk to Jun Wu afterwards. and overhears some of the people leaving the hall talking about how Jun Wu is maybe soft towards Xie Lian, lets Xie Lian get away with things, is maybe playing favorites, maybe, with Xie Lian. So the gossip is that Jun Wu favors Xie Lian. Which I think he does. I still think he does favor Xie Lian quite a bit. I think that him and Hua Cheng have some similarities in these chapters that I wanted to point out. And so Jun Wu, he doesn't think the situation is an issue, but he does think it is an issue that Xie Lian took all the blame for the gilded banquet. So I like that. I think that like Hua Cheng, Jun Wu is not malicious, and is genuine. I think that there's no deception in what he tells Xie Lian in this conversation. And like Hua Cheng, he did not like Xie Lian taking the blame. Right? Did not like Xie Lian taking the blame. He's like, I don't care about this whole business with whatever happened in the past. Whatever, it's in the past. But I don't like you taking the blame. And Hua Cheng kind of thought the same thing too. So they both feel the same for Xie Lian about that regard. I'm going to just put up here, the gilded banquet was a failure. Banyu was a failure. We'll put them up there. All right. Just add to the list. But here is the big difference. And at this point I was like, oof. This is the big difference. Is that he tells Xie Lian, he's like, you worked really hard for nothing and pleased no one. And I was like, oh shit. Like the Jun Wu, he just calls Xie Lian out. And him calling Xie Lian out, he said, you pleased no one and succeeded in nothing. You failed and you're a failure. And I was like, that's a bit cold. Hua Cheng would never call Xie Lian a failure and say you succeeded in nothing and pleased no one. I was like, how do you know, Jun Wu, that he pleased no one? Hua Cheng seems rather pleased. And I know he's talking about the whole incident at the time. He's talking about the gilded banquet. He's like, what you did pleased no one. And you worked really hard for nothing. I was like, oh. And I kind of don't like that because he's suggesting that what you did had no effect. And I was like, Xie Lian just got done saying that he thought that what he did have some effect. It did cause Changchu to push for peace for the Shanla people for centuries, and there was a peaceful time between them before his ascension. So the thing of it is that Hua Cheng is like, you did what you needed to. And it did help someone. He's like, it caused peace that helped someone, so what you did was right. He's like, I would have done the same. Jun Wu says the exact opposite. He says, you pleased no one, and everything you did was for nothing. So it's like Hua Cheng says, hey, you did your best. Someone was helped from it, so it's not all bad. And Jun Wu's like, that was pointless. Why'd you even do it? It's like, and then what got me was he's like, and Xie Lian's like, yeah, I know. And he goes, you're always like this. And I was like, oh no. When he tells Xie Lian, he's like, you're always like this. You're always like this. You're always a failure. You're just the problem child. He's like, what am I going to do with you? Talking to Xie Lian like Xie Lian talks about Qi Rong later to his mom. So I'm like, I don't think Jun Wu means anything bad by it. But again, good intention. I don't think he means anything bad by it, but just him saying that, I'm like, you're just perpetuating Xie Lian feeling awful about himself. Like Hua Cheng tries to lift him up and be like, hey, no, you do what you want. You're a good person. It's okay. We may be heavenly officials and ghosts, but we were all human at one time. It's okay. And Xie Lian felt good about it. And then Jun Wu just kind of makes him hang his head like, yeah, I know. Like, just kind of like scolding him. And it's like, ugh, I don't like it. I'm like, I feel there's nothing malicious from it. But it's not good for Xie Lian, who's someone that has severe lack of self-esteem and self-worth, to tell him that you're just always a failure, aren't you? And it's like, ugh. I don't like it at all. I'm like, oh my God, no. And so he sounds amused too. Like he doesn't get it. He's just like, what else is happening right now? Like he's just kind of amused about everything. And Xie Lian's like, well, I want to avoid things for now. He's like, I want to avoid Lan Chu and Qi Rong. And he's kind of amused by it. And he's like, well, what are you going to do when Chu gets done with Qi Rong and comes for you? Have you thought about that? And it's like he's scolding him like he's a kid. And Xie Lian's like, no, I haven't thought about that. It's got other things on my plate right now. And so Xie Lian asks him, he's like, did you send Ming Yi as a spy? And he says, yes. And Xie Lian's like, why would you do that? And he says, because he suspects that Hua Cheng has a spy giving him intel. So this is where things get interesting, right? Because at first when I was reading, I was like, I don't know if Hua Cheng has a spy. So here's the suspect. So there's two ways of looking at this. I thought, reading this story the first time, that Hua Cheng maybe uses the power of love to transport around. And the fact that he's been there before. I mean, he came to the heavenly realm before, though. So who's to say he couldn't in the future? And so he's a spy under their noses. I mean, here's the thing. I thought it's either one of two things. At this point, I have two theories. And again, I know you all are wringing your hands. You're biting your tongues. You have already taken, like, a massive amount of chocolate to get you through this moment. But I don't want to be confirmed or deconfirmed with whether my theories are right or wrong, even if I make no sense. I don't want somebody being like, well, in chapter 7, they told you something that would clearly prove that theory wrong. Please don't tell me that. I want to figure it out as we go. And so if you dissuade my theories, it's really going to upset me because I'm like, I just want to theorize, right? But I know somebody in the comments probably going to try to, so just bear with me, you patron saints. You patron saints of virtue with this MXTX, this sweet MXTX summer child. But my theory was either one of two things, especially after rereading. I went back through this and reread right before starting the discussion, especially chapter 57, because I was like, oh, buddy. I thought either Hua Cheng has been sneaking in the heavenly realm himself. Because Hua Cheng has clearly the power as a supreme to go under, like Fu Yao and Nan Feng couldn't detect that he was a ghost. They couldn't detect it. He passed all the tests that they threw at him. He's powerful enough. I'm like, maybe this whole time he's just been going back and forth between the heavenly realms, gathering information on his own, under the nose of everyone, because he can. Maybe that was it. I'm like, maybe there's no spy at all. And it's just been him all along, using the power of love for Xie Lian to go in and spy. I thought that maybe could be it. But then Jun Wu does bring up a really good point, being like, well, how does he receive information so fast when he himself is not there? And it's like, okay, maybe that's the case. So then I thought, okay, well, and Jun Wu says he has no proof. He has no proof. He has no proof, only his thoughts. But that is why he wanted Xie Lian to go and investigate. Because he believes, like Hua Cheng, believes that it could have been Qi Rong, but not Xie Lian. The mole could be someone else, but not Xie Lian. So both Jun Wu and Hua Cheng have an enormous amount of faith in Xie Lian, and they believe he's a good person doing good. They both are similar in that regard. But Jun Wu's like, I'll send Xie Lian down there so he can investigate. The thing that's interesting is that the WINDMASTER was chosen to go with him, and Lan Chu. I think Jun Wu was like, Lan Chu's too dumb to be a mole. He's too bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and simple to be a mole. But his choice of the WINDMASTER is curious. Unless the WINDMASTER volunteered. I think that if there is a spy that is giving Hua Cheng information, I think that it's the WINDMASTER. I think the WINDMASTER's the spy. If there's a spy, I think it's the WINDMASTER for a number of reasons. One, when we talk about Banyu, okay? It just seems really weird that Banyu, and then they were with Ming Yi, who was the spy that Jun Wu had sent. I wonder if the WINDMASTER has gotten to know Hua Cheng over the years And maybe Hua Cheng is like lamented to the Windmaster that they've been trying to get to Xie Lian. Maybe the Windmaster knows that Xie Lian is the love of Hua Cheng's life. And the Windmaster's just like nudging Xie Lian, being like, come on, you go get you some. This guy loves you, but I can't tell you that because it'll mess things up. So maybe that's it. But it would be interesting if the Windmaster was a spy for Hua Cheng, but didn't know. Here's the thing. The Windmaster may not have known that it was Hua Cheng as San Long with Xie Lian and the others. Maybe not. I don't know. There's still the question of who asked Xie Lian to come to Banyu. Because the Windmaster didn't seem to know that it was Xie Lian coming. So was it a lie? Did the Windmaster lie? And they did lure Xie Lian there? Or was it somebody else and the Windmaster just happened to show up and be like, maybe did somehow Hua Cheng send like a butterfly or something to the Windmaster and be like, hey, I'm going to Banyu, meet me there. And the Windmaster took Ming Yi with him / her without realizing Ming Yi was the spy that Jun Wu sent, and then it kind of outed Ming Yi on accident. And I'm guessing that's maybe why. But I don't know, because the Windmaster seemed really surprised when they saw Ming Yi in the catacombs. They seemed really surprised. But I don't know. It just seems kind of convenient that the Windmaster is really like the only heavenly official other than Xie Lian on Hua Cheng's side. The Windmaster of all people is on Hua Cheng's side. But they've done a good job of not, they've seemed pretty like stubborn about Hua Cheng and stuff, so maybe that's not it. Maybe not. I just thought the Banyu thing was kind of suspicious. The fact that they pretty much volunteered to go with Xie Lian. The fact that they are like actively a wingman when everybody else is like, oh, beware Hua Cheng, and Windmaster's like, nah, go for it. And they're a heavenly official. They know how dangerous Hua Cheng is, so what's up? Are they just that perceptive and that kind of Xie Lian and all for it? Or what's the deal? We don't know. But it just, if anybody were to give Hua Cheng information, the Windmaster would be a great source of information because they're so popular, they hear all sorts of gossip and could pass it along to Hua Cheng. And the Windmaster did defend them down there. I don't know. The Windmaster is most suspicious of being a spy for Hua Cheng, but it could even be that the Windmaster doesn't realize they're a spy for Hua Cheng. Hua Cheng could be getting information from the Windmaster without the Windmaster even knowing it. That could be the case. That might be it. That there's a mole that doesn't realize they're a mole. Maybe. But it makes sense why Jun Wu chose Xie Lian to go investigate the Ghost City, because he was worried anybody else would botch the job. Makes sense. And so then Jun Wu is like, I don't know if it's one mole or multiple moles, don't know. But he, again, the wary of your friends bit. Jun Wu's kind of passive-aggressive, where he's like, look, I'm not telling you who you should be friends with, but, sometimes, if you get in with the wrong crowd, you might get guilt by association. And Xie Lian's just like, oh, well, no, it'll be okay. And it's funny because they say, I shouldn't come out on your friends, we should be wary of Hua Cheng. And he explains that they are a supreme, and how they are a supreme. And you become a supreme by suffering unimaginable suffering and pain. And either you ascend to become like one of the calamities, the supreme, or you are doomed to the depths of hell, never to return. Now, there are only 3 supremes that we know of, which is the Blackwater, which is Hua Cheng, and which is the White Calamity. I am assuming the White Calamity has gone through a serious event of suffering and pain and became a calamity because of it. They just weren't involved with the Mount Yonglu or whatever, or Tonglu, that the Blackwater and Hua Cheng were. They became a supreme through another mean of awfulness. It also makes sense why Qi Rong is not a supreme and is still a savage, because here's the thing about Qi Rong, or how they seem to be. They seem to be the type of character that they like laugh and stuff when Xie Lian's punching them, but at the end of the day, they really don't want to go through that much pain. They'd rather avoid that if they could. So the idea that Qi Rong has to suffer an immeasurable amount of pain, they're probably like, nah, I'm good being a savage. I'm fine. Gonna hard pass that. So there's that, interestingly. All right. And the Blackwater's interesting because the Blackwater just keeps to themselves. And they're like, I don't know, I don't want to mess with anything. But they've gone through all this pain and suffering, so what do we do with that? That's fascinating to me. I think it's interesting, right? And then Xie Lian is about, because Jun Wu says that Hua Cheng knowing the movements of the heavenly realm would be disadvantageous to us. And I like that Xie Lian goes to like defend him in that moment, being like, whoa, disadvantageous. Wait, why would it be that? Like San Long, he says San Long like would never do anything to harm us. But the moment he says San Long, Jun Wu's like, and Xie Lian's like, damn it, I'm using pet names. It's like, oh no. Because he's going to stand up for him. But he does defend him. And Jun Wu's like, well, I hope that he doesn't do anything, but I can't be too careful. And that's kind of, again, we talk about how Jun Wu has all of the heavenly realm to worry about. And we've seen that the heavenly realm is supposed to have this certain appearance to it and maintain this certain face. And he has to be the one to keep them all in line. And then you have the polar opposite where Hua Cheng does not care. Screw them all. I've got this one guy I care about. Screw all of them. Whereas Jun Wu may care about Xie Lian, but he's also got the burdens of everybody else to care about too. So it's an amazing contrast, and I really like it. I don't hate Jun Wu's character. There are aspects of him I'm like, no. But I don't hate his character. I'm just like, I like that we're slowly learning more and more about him. He's intriguing. But I don't like the fact that he kind of reinforces the lack of self-worth that Xie Lian has. I don't like that at all. Because Hua Cheng seems to be trying to break him out of it. And Jun Wu just reinforces it. It's like, ugh. Don't like it. But yeah. And so I like that Xie Lian goes back to the palace to try to spend the night, but his palace now has all this like this giant X-Man of charms on it to keep the spirits away, and he's like, probably don't need to stay there. And the Windmaster offered a place for him to stay. Conveniently, Bestie offered him a place to stay, and Xie Lian said no. But I wonder if the Windmaster is a spy, and Xie Lian didn't stay with him, if the Windmaster told Hua Cheng was like, hey, I tried to get your boo to stay with me. He said no. He's run off. He's gone rogue. Need to go find him. It may be, as Xie Lian is about to stab Qi Rong, Hua Cheng's going to save him. Maybe. Maybe if the Windmaster is a spy and told Hua Cheng being like, Xie Lian's not here. Code red. Code maple. As we'll talk about. Then Hua Cheng is going to go and save Xie Lian. Or maybe Chan Chu will show up and save Xie Lian. Or maybe Xie Lian will stab a random guy with a sword and a kid will be crying at his legs thinking Xie Lian's a demon. But at this point, Xie Lian's like broke. So who knows? But yeah, but I like that he chooses not to stay with it. Instead, he leaves the heavenly realm and goes down to the Royal Holy Pavilion, which was the center of the kingdom of Shanla back during their heyday. And I like the way that the book describes it. The book describes it as being like all grown up and like it's had 800 years to like reclaim it. And so we talk about that it was a mountain covered. It's so funny because it has elements of Hua Cheng and Jun Wu with it, right? So on the one hand, it has the big giant golden temple where they worship the grand heavenly emperor. So Xie Lian's respect towards Jun Wu is very understandable because he's like, oh, you are the god that our family worshipped. Of course, right? I have the utmost respect for you because you were like what my family worshipped for years. And so it makes sense. And there's the description of the highest peak being Jun Wu's temple, right? And then on the secondary peak was Xie Lian's. I kind of feel like that's the difference between how Jun Wu and Hua Cheng view Xie Lian. Jun Wu views Xie Lian as someone that he wants to have right beside him, but not on equal terms. He always views Xie Lian as a little bit of a problem child and as someone beneath him just a bit. Someone he needs to be stern with and fatherly or leaderly with. Someone that is not on the same level as Xie Lian. And that's kind of represented by you have the golden temple at the top and Xie Lian's right beside it, but below it. Hua Cheng, when they're at the shrine, the Puchi shrine, they're equals. They're on the same level. They're sleeping beside one another. And Hua Cheng doesn't he puts Xie Lian on a pedestal, but at the end of the day, he views them equally. He just wants to do all he can to protect Xie Lian and to make him feel like he's worth more than he thinks he is. So that's fascinating. But I feel like we have the elements of Jun Wu there at the Royal Holy Pavilion, but then there was also the maple leaves on the mountain, the giant maple leaves, which seem like a representation of Hua Cheng. So they talk about how when Shanla fell and the people were just raiding the temples and tearing them down, they burned the mountain to the ground. So maybe that's how Hua Cheng died. Did he die? Because we know he was the bandaged boy. We know he was that bandaged boy, right? And so maybe when Shanla fell, Hua Cheng was trying to defend the temple, to defend the crown prince's temple amongst all those maple leaves, and maybe he burned to death. Maybe they ignited a fire and he burned to death. And then from his ashes, he became a ghost. He died trying to save his prince. And so maybe that's it, right? And that's why he wears all the stuff that's like the color of the maple leaves, because he's trying to like represent it and trying to like keep that alive. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah. But it says the trees have all burnt up, but they've regrown from the ground, but nothing is the same. They're not maple trees anymore. They're different kind of trees. It's not the red maples anymore. It's just a forest, right? And so then Xie Lian, he decides, Xie Lian was just feeling really bad. He was feeling really sorry for himself. Things didn't go like they should have. He met his cousin again, only to watch him get boiled alive. And he seems like he failed again. And so all Xie Lian wanted to do was go down and pay respects to his parents and talk to his mom and be like, I don't know what to do. And so he goes down. I love the idea that they describe it as like the secret passageway, and they describe like how you get down there and like going down the well and the entrance shutting behind you and you crawling to the well and doing certain things. It's like something you knew as a kid they probably knew how to do, and that's how they got to the mausoleum. But he got to the mausoleum. Before he gets to the mausoleum, though, we talk about the trees growing on the fertile ground. That the fire destroyed everything but left the ground incredibly fertile. And that grew all the trees and everything. And he sees, when he backs up against the tree, when chapter 57 starts, I thought it was like a bird or something that would hit him, but it was a swing. And he has the flashback to when he was a kid and he was like cheering at the cultivators on the swings training. And he makes the comment that as a child he loved it. But once he started cultivating later on, it was no longer for fun. So it sounds like that his whole role as a cultivator was out of duty. I feel like Hua Cheng, like Jun Wu proposes this idea of duty that Xie Lian needs to follow. And Xie Lian seems like he became a cultivator to follow duty. He was the crown prince. He had expectations of him. He had to do things a certain way. And it seems like a lot of these failures are because Xie Lian tried to do a duty and couldn't live up to it. He was trying to do things for other people and not himself, and he couldn't fulfill it. And Hua Cheng's over here like, hey, self-care is important. Like, your self-care matters. Maybe you should care about yourself and love yourself before you try doing things for others. So it's not, so you do you. I feel like that's what we're getting at with this. But he goes into the mausoleum. And I love that how it's described with the diamonds and pearls around it, like lighting the way. Like the light reflects off one pearl, it reflects off another, and it creates this like walkway. It's so cool how MXTX describes it. And then he gets to the coffins and he doesn't have anything to offer. He was going to offer the half-eaten bun, but he gave it to Hua Cheng. And I feel like he feels like he's failed there again too. He failed to bring his parents' offering. So instead he sits beside the coffin and talks to his mom, and he's like, man, I don't know about Qi Rong. He's still alive. He's lost his way. He's like, I don't know what we're going to do with him. And then we have the kid in the coffin. MXTX, that whole last scene was just like a fever dream, like a nightmare. Like, what the hell? The idea that his mom was wrapped up in the shroud that preserved her body from decaying and would keep it preserved for hundreds of thousands of years, for thousands of years. And then, of course, Qi Rong was like, oh, I know my cousin. He's pretty self-loathing. He's going to come down in this tomb. And maybe that's it. Or maybe Qi Rong came down to mourn too. We don't know. But he took that kid with him, presumably to eat him, and possessed the dad. And then it's just like he put the kid in the coffin and the kid wrapped himself up. Or maybe Qi Rong made him wrap up in the robes and put the mask on. And once he disrobed the body of the mom, she just disintegrated. 800 years, she just turned to dust. Just ash. I feel like Qi Rong, that's so horrible because that kid was shoved into a coffin and made to like sit next to a decayed corpse. Awesome. Good. Trash king. Trash king indeed. And Xie Lian just freaking out that he lost his mom. Him freaking out that his mom was no longer there. And he was like, I don't know what to do. Don't know how to handle this. What do we do with this? Like, this is the most freaked out we've seen Xie Lian. And the most, like, in utter despair and at his lowest point we've seen Xie Lian. Because he just breaks. He's just like, where's my mother's body? Why are you here? And then when he realizes that Qi Rong possessed the dad, he's like, oh my god, he's possessed this dad. This kid must think I'm a demon right now because I'm sitting here beating his father to a pulp and he doesn't know what's going on. So, but Xie Lian can't stop himself. He knows he looks like a demon. It's so sad. Like, he's like, I'm no better than a ghost. He's like, I get it. I know I'm not any better. What do I do? And Qi Rong calling him out and calling him a failure. He's like, yeah, he's like, you're no different than me. Look at all this bad stuff you've done. Like, you tried to save people but you're no good at it. And it's like, and yeah, he freaks out. And the sad thing was that when he first heard the cries, he thought it was mom, and he was like happy for a second, like he was hearing her again, like after 800 years. Oh my god. And then Qi Rong stabs him and he grabs the sword with his hand and cuts his hand. And then when Xie Lian's like, shut the hell up, get the hell out of here, I'll kill you. I was like, Xie Lian like goes from being a spicy cinnamon bun to being like a full-on red hot. Like just within 2 seconds. And Qi Rong's just like, you've fallen down to my level, cousin. Like, you're just as bad as I am. We're both in this hell together. And Xie Lian's just like, the audacity of it all. He's like, this is more like you. Fight, kill ruthlessly, kill cruelly. Don't give me that saintly look as if you are unburdened with unspeakable sin. It's disgusting. And meanwhile, this kid is like crying, like trying to be like, let my dad go. And it's like, oh my god. And Xie Lian only calms down when he realizes the body is innocent. It's just Qi Rong that's the problem. And I feel like Xie Lian like is threatening Qi Rong, like being like, I'll rip out your tongue because I can pull the ghost out through the tongue if you don't be quiet. And Qi Rong's like, well, do it. And I love that he blows raspberries. He's like blows raspberries at him. I think the book said something different. The book said, it didn't say blow raspberries. The book said that he said he even stuck out his tongue intentionally as if he couldn't wait for Xie Lian to make good on his threat and use that bloody method to pull out his soul out of the fleshy body. He taunted with childish noises of woo la la. I was like, what? Why? I can't wait to see this animated. It's going to be ridiculous. But yeah. And so he's like, I won't get the hell out. What are you going to do? He's like, I might just die, so don't miss this chance, or you won't ever find my ashes in this lifetime. And then he's like, aren't you going to kill me? I ruined your mother's corpse, right? And this kid's like, don't kill my daddy. And Xie Lian just can't, like, he's so dizzy from everything, telling them all to shut up. And then he's like, this is your true face, cousin crown prince who knows you better than me in this world. You might look like a pathetic drowned dog, but I know you're proud on the inside. You couldn't stand anyone calling you a failure. You must hate it. And so Xie Lian couldn't stand it anymore. I don't think that he's going to actually stab the dad. Something's going to happen. Somebody's going to stop him or something. Or he's going to strike down the sword next to his head. I don't know. I don't feel like he would actually kill the father. I don't know. It just doesn't seem... But maybe he will. He's drove him to this point of madness. Maybe he will. I don't know. At this point, oh my god. I don't think I felt this like bad for a protagonist in a series in a long time. And it's not just because Xie Lian has a tragic backstory. He does. But it's the fact that Xie Lian's such a complicated character. and he's lived this life, and he's finally at this breaking point where he's tried so hard to do good, but it just doesn't work out for him. And Qi Rong's like, yeah, you're a failure. Like, just accept it. And Xie Lian's like, I can't die. I'm an ascended god, but I can't do my job because I'm god of misfortune. So instead of helping people, I just bring people bad luck. He's like, and I hate it. He's like, I hate myself. Because he's like, I'm the one role that gives me the power to help people ends up hurting them. And it's like, oh my God. And Hua Cheng, meanwhile, is kind of like, we still love you. You can get better. It's fine. I'll help you. Oh my God. These chapters. And you leave me on this cliffhanger. We're starting book 2 MXTX. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? I haven't forgotten that I'm going to look at that preview. I've not forgotten that. No. I haven't forgotten that. Nope. No, have not. Sure haven't. I wanted to pull that up because I have not forgotten that that's a thing we're still doing. So, God. These chapters were incredible, but we'll see. We'll see if there's a spy. We'll see if Hua Cheng is using the WINDMASTER. We'll see if it's somebody else. We'll see if it's all just in Jun Wu's head. We'll see what's going on. The secret pass. We're only in volume 2. We got all these volumes to go. Got like 8 volumes. 8! It's fine. It's okay. All right. So I do want to look at this and watch it. So that is exactly what we are going to do. So we're going to check that out here and look at this Heaven Officials Blessing 2nd anniversary special video. I've got the subtitles on if there are any, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's check it out. Oh, there's Xie Lian. Okay. Oh, he's so pretty! So handsome. The flowy hair. Oh, there's Ling Wen. Oh, and there's Fu Yao. And oh yeah, this is the bride. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're all Chong with him. Yes. Oh. It's just recapping the season, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yep, we're recapping Shanji. I still love Xie Lian. And the maple leaves, yes! Of them together. Oh. And Banyu. Yes. Oh my God, him jumping in the pit. Oh! He's like, I'd do it 1,000 times over for you. This is gorgeous. Yes. Uh-huh. Oh, cool. And Pei Jr. Oh! I ship it. I love it. Oh, are we getting things? We're getting things for season 2? Okay. Oh, did yep. Yeah. It's fine. We're fine. Oh my God. Oh, is that the end already? Quit being cowards and tell us when you're releasing this. Ugh. I can't. Oh.
天官赐福，百无禁忌。
Why? Why do we have to wait? Why must we wait? I don't know. Whenever they do announce season 2, I'm gonna finish this book before season 2 comes out because I've only got 3 parts left of this. I have chapters 58 through 59, 60 and 65, and 66 through 68. I originally put it into three parts. I'll have to check the page numbers and see if I can combine any of those. Although 60 through 65 is a lot. And we will have a Manhua chapter next week to go with 58 and 59. Maybe. I might have to check the page numbers on those and just see. But I'm going to finish this volume before the Donghua comes out. And I will be into volume 3 by the time that... Hopefully, I'll be at volume 3 by the time the Donghua comes out. Now, my intentions were to stop the novel chapters and watch season 2 before going further. And I probably will still do that because I don't know if I can do the novel and the show at the same time. But that would be kind of cool to stop and do the Donghua. And it would kind of be like a nice retread of volume 2. And so if we were in the middle of reading volume 3, I could be like, oh, okay, look at this. We'll just... And I may, if we were in the middle of a volume, I'd probably finish the volume before starting the Donghua again. And then that would be like a nice retreading. And then we could pick up where we left off at. Might do that. I'll probably ask Patreon what they think too. But that's the idea anyway. So, but we'll definitely be finished with volume 2 by the time that happens. We'll be into volume 3 for sure. Oh, this was a really, really good set of chapters though. These may be some of my favorite chapters so far. And I know nothing really happens in them, but there were so many twists and turns. And the plot, there's so many questions, so many like thematic things brought up about the characters. I may have liked these chapters the most so far out of this volume. And as a group, I may like these chapters the most so far. As much as I love Qi Rong, as much as I love everything that's happened up until this point, these 4 chapters were really, really good. But now we're starting book 2. Arc 2. The crown, the prince who was this... The God-pleasing crown prince. Funny that we left off with Xie Lian at his lowest point as we go into an arc that is literally titled for him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. My fear is, though, I've read Modao Zushi. You know what my fear is? My fear is that Modao Zushi, we had the plot, and then we had a giant flashback, and then we came back with the plot, and I was like, MXTX, what are we doing? And so my fear is that since this arc is called The God-Pleasing Crown Prince, and we left with Xie Lian at his lowest point, I'm like, are we about to get a bunch of backstory? And you're not going to tell me the answer at the end of this chapter? MXTX, I know you. I know you're going to do that. Probably. We'll see how long it goes. But we'll find out next week, right? We'll find out next week. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Heaven Official's Blessing. Bye.